Hello and welcome to Face Off, your weekly taste of French politics. Please, please, please come to France. Don't be afraid. We shall not tax you more. We shall make life easy for you. Please feel welcome. Well, this is not the latest ad for the French Tourism Board, but essentially the message delivered by the French president himself, François Hollande, to CEOs of foreign companies and major foreign investment funds who were wined and dined for 24 hours in Paris this week. A socialist president singing the praise of the corporate world. Well, this is not to the liking of some of his socialist supporters, as his popularity hits rock bottom and the outcome of the municipal elections next month looks rather gloomy. With me on the set, Philippe Turle from Radio France Internationale and Jean-Marc Gonin with the Figaro magazine. So after a dinner at the Prime Minister's office on Sunday, some 30 CEOs of foreign companies and investment funds were hosted at the presidential palace, the Élysée, on Monday for a so-called Strategic Attractiveness Summit. The French president promised expedited visas for investors and a promise that the rules will not change. Let's take a listen to the president begging investors to come to France.
France is open to the world and is an attractive country. Being attractive is a sign of confidence and a reason to be proud. We're not afraid of foreign investment. We don't try to protect ourselves. We don't have a narrow-minded conception of national interest. We even think that investment flows, French investments outside of the country and foreign investments in France are part of a country's success.
Jean-Marc Gonin, this comes just after the French president was in the US and especially in Silicon Valley, also weeks after he promised a so-called responsibility pact with the union bosses. What is happening to the socialist president?
He is meaning what he said at the beginning of the year, that is that he's taking a very pro-business line. He has to do a pro-business policy because the dream of creating jobs with public money is dissipated. It doesn't exist anymore. And the socialist president and his prime minister have realized that if unemployment is to be combated, it has to be on the field of private companies investing in this country with private sector growth and not with public money. When you look at the figures, last year, foreign investment in this country has dropped by no less than 13%, which is a huge sum, and France is lagging behind Britain and Germany, now in third place for foreign investment in the country. So there is a red light that is lit now, and he has to woo foreign investors and to dissipate their fears that France has, on the tax level and on many other fields, it has a not very transparent or visible policy.
But it's striking. You know, the prime minister has dinner, the president takes a lot of his time very publicly to say, please come invest here. I mean, it's maybe an exaggeration, but he looked like an emerging country leader begging the rich CEOs to come to his country.
Well, you've said it all. In your intro, you say, please come, please come, please come, and they're really desperate. I think they really want foreign investment in this country. Because for the simple reason that François Hollande has made a total muck-up of trying to attract foreign investors since he was elected president. You might remember during the election campaign, he said two things which he shouldn't have said. The first one was that finance is his enemy. And the second one was, well, because we need money, we're going to put the tax rate of all those who earn over €1 million a year up to 75%, just a temporary measure, but we're going to do it anyway, which has sent all of them fleeing overseas to other countries. And only the people who do earn over €1 million a year are company bosses and heads of industry who get big salaries to run big companies. They don't want to stay in France because they're paying too much tax. So they say, fine, if that's the way it is, we're going to leave. So they've seen this downward fall of investment in this country. Presidents under growing pressure to bring industry back, to lower the unemployment rate, to increase public spending in this country, to give the French people things to buy, to fill the order books. It hasn't happened. And this is another of his plans to try to woo back the industry to this country by coming up with friendly types of incentives like visas easier to get, residency permits for a certain time, 4 years or whatever, to try to coax these people back in. But it's a long haul plan, and it's not going to happen overnight.
Right, because, I mean, those measures that were announced this week, essentially, you know, red tape measures, if I call them, the bigger challenge is his decision to really cut public spending and also cut the payroll taxes for a company. And this is maybe a bigger change that he announced a few weeks ago, and people are questioning, including those CEOs who came to the Élysée, whether this is going to happen in reality or this is mere wishful thinking or window dressing.
Yes, one of the bosses, one of the executives that was present at the meeting said, when coming out of the Élysée Palace, now we wait for a Nike slogan, just do it. And the problem with François Hollande is that he talks a lot, but he doesn't deliver. So now he inviting so many important executives to his own palace. If he doesn't hold his word, this is really it would be a desperating policy. I doubt it will be an easy thing to get through in the French government and in French Parliament, on the other hand, because when you look at the reactions within his own party ranks, and even in the mainstream media, how that very meeting was presented is a bit worrying. They talk about les patrons, the bosses, as if, he was giving presents to rich people, which is not the case. Nobody speaks like in the American or British media of companies being invited. Suddenly there are wealthy people that are getting presents from our president. And I think this is a very negative presentation of that meeting, and that might be difficult to get things through in the coming weeks and months.
Philip Trull, we're going to see while we speak the very worrying figures of popularity of François Hollande. Only 20, yes, down. And the downfall never stops, it seems. Only 20% of the French now have confidence in him. But in a paradoxical way, isn't he free in a way to do something that he wouldn't dare doing if he was more popular, saying, okay, I know I'm not popular, I'm going to take some unpopular steps, even for a socialist president, and eventually people might see the rewards if the economy rebounds?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. First of all, to analyse why he's gone so far down. I think there's a growing feeling that he dithers, he can't make decisions. There are several reasons, I think, over the last few months why people have been disillusioned with François Hollande. The first one is, of course, his pledge to bring down the unemployment rate from the 31st of December 2013, which he hasn't managed to do. The second one was that he pledged what was called a fiscal pause, meaning there are going to be no new taxes, no new fiscal measures in this country. And what do we see from the 1st of January? A rise of the VAT rate in this country. There have been other problems over the past few months with this girl called Leonardo being kicked out of the country and then being invited back in. So people are saying, well, the president says one thing and then either breaks his promise or can't do what he says. So we're a little bit fed up with it. So he's now got to this very, very, very low opinion poll rating, which at one point over the last few weeks even went below 20%, which is an absolute first since the creation of the Fifth Republic under General de Gaulle in 1958. No one's ever been that low, not even Sarkozy, Chirac, Mitterrand. So he could go forward now and say, right, okay, I'm really very, very low in the opinion polls. I don't care. I'm going to introduce unpopular measures. I'm going to go ahead and do it. I've got nothing to lose. And that will help bring the economy back, which is what he wants to do. His aim is, well, I don't care what happens now. I'm in office till 2017, and by 2017, things will have improved, unemployment will go down, growth will come back, and the economy will be better than it is at the moment. But people are not willing to wait that long. They want changes right now, and they think that President Hollande is not doing that. But will he be courageous or not to do what he says? I'm not so sure he will.
and there'll be immediate sanctions. Maybe next month, municipal elections are to be held very quickly on this. There is a risk that even though it is a local election, or many local elections, there will be a sanction for the president. The polls we're just going to see one as we speak, are very worrying for the socialists. They're essentially far behind the Conservative Party, the UMP, and not very far ahead of the far-right National Front.
Yes, I don't think it will be as painful as it might have been, because the Conservative side is divided, because the National Front is strong, so the left will stand its position somehow. They will lose municipalities, but not as many as they could have feared. But you have now signals that are very worrying, like in the northern part of France, you have one middle-sized town that might fall into the hands of the Front National, of the National Front of the extreme right. And the analysis of the polls shows that socialist voters are running in the arms of the Front National. This is not a new movement, but it has increased in the last weeks and months terribly. And this is a very bad signal for the left and for the government.
Right, because very quickly, those are voters who are deeply disappointed by François Hollande, who thinks...
Well, in the old days, the voters who were disappointed by the Socialists would have gone to the far left towards the Communist Party, but it doesn't happen anymore. They go from the Socialist Party to the extreme far right, and Marine Le Pen, the leader of the far right party, has been using this very efficient campaign to criticise the government, to criticise Europe, to say that it's all the fault of other people, of foreigners being here, and the barriers need to be erected around France once again. And it's actually rubbing off on people because they're just completely disillusioned with the way the government's handling the country, and they say, well, maybe there is another way of doing it, and maybe Marine Le Pen is telling the truth. That's exactly what she wants.
Okay, we'll see how this unfolds. We'll obviously be talking much more about those forthcoming municipal elections here on Face Off. We'll see you next week here on France 24.